Mafia trial in over 3 decades is starting in Italy. The defendants include more than 350 suspects. They are members of one of the world's most feared organized crime groups.
For over 2 decades, the Mafia controlled law enforcement from the inside.
Police has the Mafia in its sights. The change in direction comes in the wake of the AFP's biggest and most significant organised crime crackdown 12 months ago.
Using NYPD detectives as their pawns.
This was the moment Italy's most wanted mafia boss was arrested. Matteo Messina Denaro, the man with a reputation for being the boss of bosses.
The shocking betrayal that protected organized crime will leave you speechless. Don't miss out. Uncover the secrets behind the Mafia's powerful grip. Mafia's control over law enforcement. In the early 1980s, a notorious Mafia member, Luis Ippolito, found himself not just a criminal, but also part of the NYPD. Ippolito, a former detective, used his badge as a weapon, selling information to the Mafia. He wasn't alone. He was working alongside Stephen Caracappa, another former officer who was also deeply involved with the Mafia. Together, these two men helped the Mafia in unimaginable ways. They provided them with sensitive details about investigations, leading to the deaths of innocent people. Their most shocking act was their involvement in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs, a man wrongly framed for a crime. Ippolito and Caracappa's actions didn't go unnoticed for long. In 2005, their long-standing betrayal was uncovered. Both men were arrested, and their betrayal was a huge shock to the law enforcement community. They had used their power to manipulate investigations and protect Mafia members for decades. This case is a chilling reminder of how deeply organized crime can infiltrate systems meant to protect people. The story of Ippolito and Caracappa's betrayal will forever haunt the legacy of the NYPD. Mafia's silent grip. In the 1970s, the Bonino crime family had found an unexpected ally in Luis Ippolito, a member of the NYPD. Known for his sharp detective skills, Ippolito was a man who lived 2 lives. On the surface, he was a respected officer, but behind closed doors, he was an informant for the Mafia. Ippolito was not alone in his betrayal. His partner, Stephen Caracappa, a fellow NYPD officer, was also entangled in the Mafia's web. Together, they fed crucial information to the Bonino family, protecting them from investigations. Their most notorious act was their role in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs, an innocent man who was framed due to their actions. The Mafia didn't just rely on their insider knowledge. Ippolito and Caracappa used their positions to derail investigations, intimidate witnesses, and even manipulate cases to ensure Mafia operations ran smoothly. Their corruption lasted for nearly 2 decades, hidden under the guise of their official duties. It wasn't until 2005 that their dark secrets came to light. Arrested and convicted, Ippolito and Caracappa's actions revealed the Mafia's profound influence over law enforcement, forever tarnishing the reputation of the NYPD. Undercover Betrayal. In the 1980s, the NYPD had a problem no one expected. Their own officers were working with the Mafia. Luis Ippolito and Stephen Caracappa, 2 well-known detectives, used their badges to protect organized crime families. Ippolito, an officer trusted by many, was feeding the Bonino crime family with vital information that helped them stay one step ahead of the law. Their connection to the Mafia was more than just information. They played an active role in sabotaging police investigations, providing Mafia members with details about undercover operations and witness identities. Their actions were directly responsible for the 1986 killing of Barry Gibbs, who was wrongly convicted of a crime. For years, Ippolito and Caracappa operated in the shadows, using their position to control investigations and protect Mafia interests. It wasn't until 2005, when their corruption was finally exposed, that the full extent of their betrayal became clear. Their arrest was a stunning revelation, showing how the Mafia's influence had silently spread within the police force for decades. Mafias Inside Man. In the 1980s, the Mafia found a powerful ally in Luis Eppolito, a trusted detective in the NYPD. Eppolito, along with his partner Stephen Caracappa, secretly worked for the Bonanno crime family, feeding them sensitive law enforcement information. This allowed the Mafia to evade police crackdowns and continue their illegal activities. Eppolito used his position to manipulate investigations, providing the Mafia with details on undercover operations and witness protection. His most shocking betrayal was his involvement in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs, a man wrongfully convicted due to their leaked information. The pair's criminal activities went unnoticed for over 2 decades, with their power growing inside the NYPD. It wasn't until 2005 that their manipulation was finally uncovered. Their arrest shocked the nation, revealing how the Mafia's influence had spread deep within law enforcement, corrupting the very system meant to stop them. Corruption exposed. In 2005, the long-standing betrayal by Luis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa was finally revealed. For over 2 decades, these former NYPD detectives had secretly worked for the Bonanno crime family, using their positions to help the Mafia avoid law enforcement scrutiny. Eppolito and Caracappa provided crucial details about investigations, witness protection, and undercover operations, enabling the Mafia to carry out their criminal activities without fear of being caught. Their most infamous act was their involvement in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs, an innocent man wrongfully convicted due to their interference. Their arrest sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community, exposing how deep the Mafia's influence had spread within the police force. The case of Eppolito and Caracappa served as a grim reminder of how corruption can infiltrate even the most trusted institutions, forever changing the reputation of the NYPD. Mafia's shield. For decades, the Bonanno crime family was shielded from the law thanks to the inside knowledge provided by Luis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa. These 2 former NYPD detectives used their badges to manipulate investigations, pass on vital police information, and sabotage law enforcement efforts against organized crime. Their most notorious actions were the murders and criminal activities they helped cover up. One of the most devastating incidents was their involvement in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs, who was wrongly convicted due to the officer's corruption. Eppolito and Caracappa's manipulation of the justice system lasted for over 20 years, allowing the Mafia to operate freely. It wasn't until their arrest in 2005 that the full scale of their betrayal was revealed, exposing how deeply the Mafia had infiltrated law enforcement. Their case remains a chilling example of corruption at the highest levels of policing. Inside job. In the 1980s, Luis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa, 2 trusted detectives in the NYPD, were secretly working for the Bonanno crime family. For over 2 decades, they used their positions to manipulate investigations and provide the Mafia with critical law enforcement information, allowing them to stay one step ahead. Their most infamous betrayal was their role in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs, a man wrongfully convicted because of their actions. They not only leaked sensitive information, but also manipulated cases to shield the Mafia from law enforcement scrutiny. It wasn't until 2005 that their corruption was uncovered, shocking the nation and revealing the extent of the Mafia's control within the NYPD. Their arrest highlighted the dangerous reality of how organized crime can infiltrate law enforcement, undermining justice for decades. Hidden alliances. For over 20 years, the Bonanno crime family thrived under the protection of 2 corrupt NYPD detectives, Luis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa. Their inside knowledge, gained through their positions in the police force, allowed the Mafia to carry out their activities without fear of law enforcement intervention. Eppolito and Caracappa manipulated investigations, leaked vital information, and even played a role in the 1986 murder of Barry Gibbs. an innocent man framed due to their actions. The detectives' work wasn't just about passing along information. It was about ensuring that the Mafia could operate freely and without interference. Their secret alliance remained hidden until 2005, when their arrest exposed the deep connection between the Mafia and law enforcement. Their betrayal shattered the trust in the NYPD, showing how corruption can thrive for decades when hidden in plain sight. This was just the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned for our next video. The unbelievable loopholes criminals exploit to avoid jail, and discover more jaw-dropping truths. Subscribe now. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Hit the bell icon so you're always in the know.